everyone. Welcome to our final event in the virtually different Spring Speaker Series from Keep Indiana Learning. I'm Lena Darnay, a professional learning specialist for Keep Indiana Learning, and I'm so excited to have everyone here with us this afternoon for Manuel Herrera, a dear friend and creative collaborator with Keep Indiana Learning. Manuel, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than excited to do this. I've been amped about it all week or all weekend, and then came today. Yeah, I'm excited. Ready to do this.
This is awesome. And I tell you, this has been one of the most fun planning sessions, like for the last however many weeks that we've been working on planning this. Your creativity is so inspiring and so much fun. Just for me, this has been such a wild ride just getting to this day. And so I'm excited for everyone to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've had some planning sessions, so let's make this thing come to life. All right, we'll get started, guys. Thank you for being here for Creative Coffee, a live stream. So much that it is. I am actually at a coffee shop. I have built a my own patio outside of a Starbucks in Evansville, Indiana, to do this. So really excited to do this. So kind of the purpose of this is just to kind of share my creativity and what I do and kind of how I do the things that I do, in hopes that I maybe inspire you or maybe get you out of a rut, or maybe you just need, kind of that, just push to kind of get started. That's what I want to share with you today. So take what you see, what you hear, make it yours. Reach out to me afterwards and let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help. But so yeah, we'll get started. This Creative Coffee kind of brainchild of Lena's is evolved into this kind of three parts thing, or three-headed monster, if you will. We're going to talk today during this live stream for about 30 minutes. I'll share a few of the kind of pillars of my creativity. And then afterwards, about 15 minutes after, we're going to hop over to Twitter Spaces and we're going to do kind of a live audio chat, and we'll share a little bit more. You guys can jump on and ask us any questions and, anything about anything you heard. And then for the entire month of March, I'm going to have a March Twitter slow chat, which I'm really excited about because I'm trying to take this Twitter chat or slow chat and turn it on its head. So typically, if you've done a Twitter slow chat, you're given prompts, in an hour's time, and then you reply to those prompts via Twitter. Well, we're doing this for the entire month, but not only am I going to be giving you prompts, I'm going to be releasing a prompt every week, and that's going to be starting today. So after this chat, after this live stream, I'm going to release one of the prompts, and it's going to be all about your creative journey. I've created these prompts, and there are also some illustrations that go along with it. So you will answer these prompts or reply to these prompts. You'll download these illustrations that I've created. You can print them out, or you can upload them to any of your favorite drawing apps and kind of engage with that prompt. And in the end, after the entire month of March, you're going to have these four kind of puzzle pieces of your work, of your creative journey, that you're going to assemble together to make this one large map. And maybe then you'll print it and you can put it on your wall, and it'll be just kind of a reminder of what you've been working on the entire month of March. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to see what you guys think. And also, it's meant for you to use with your kids too. This isn't just for the adults. This is also for your students. So hope you latch on to one of those and use this with your kids. So today's talk was about teacher creativity. That was the original title. But after kind of working on this and kind of coming up with different ideas, I changed it. And I kind of wanted it to be called just being a creative, kind of a pep talk for you, if you will. That's a pretty big term to say that someone is creative. And I know it's a very scary place for some of you folks, but I'm hoping after today you kind of have some direction with that, and I can help you. So I hope you enjoyed this pep talk. But like all my presentations, I can't just sit here and let you do nothing. I need you to do something. So if you're here, you have a chat you can respond to. If you're at home, you feel free to get some paper out and draw this. But pictures can say whatever we want them to say. I don't like to look at the world for what it is. I like to see it in different ways and different perspectives. So this is kind of a good activity to do this. I've placed 6 triangles on the page. And so what do these represent? What do these look like to you? Kind of like a 30 circles challenge. I don't know if many of you have done that before, where you take 30 circles and you draw something out of them. The same kind of idea. So mentally do this, or maybe, like I said, jot it on paper. But what do these triangles remind you of? And I'm gonna, I don't know, I'll give you about a minute to think about it. I've kind of done the first one for you. The first triangle looks like a mountain to me. I mean, that's, pretty standard, illustrated mountain. But I'm sure you can come up with some other things. So take a minute. I'm going to sip my coffee out here in the self-made patio that I have. I should have had music, Lena. We should have figured out how to do music. And take 60 seconds. If you're here, leave some stuff in the chat and let me know what you're seeing. Oh, I turned the chat on there. I can see it. Oh, somebody here from Evansville. What's up? Hey, Lisa. I'm glad you're driving. Heather, hello, Heather. Hey. So yeah, see some triangles. What do you think these are? What do you think these look like? Oh, look at Lena coming through with the music. Pyramids of Egypt. Exactly. I think I had that as one of mine before. Doritos. Yes. You know, Matt, I feel embarrassed. I didn't even think about that. They do look like Doritos. Bird's beak. You're kind of stuck in a rut. I'm going to show you what I thought they looked like. I've got a mountain. Oh man, that music was so good. I've got a mountain. I thought the triangle looked like the Google Maps. I'm traveling right now. I'm just coming from Louisville, and the Google Map kind of triangle that is on your map. I thought that's what it looked like. Marty said it looks like a tent, a yield sign, but upside down. For those of you who are '90s fans, it also looks like the Pearl Jam's Yield album, but upside down. I thought it looked like conference swag. I used to get these highlighters when I would go to conferences, and you could pull off the corners, and it would be like a yellow or blue or a pink highlighter. I thought it looked like a cat's ear. That's my lame attempt at a cat's ear. I do not own any cats, but I imagine that's what their ears look like. And then an asteroids video game. So old school video game asteroids. That is your ship that is blowing up all of the asteroids. So very cool. Shark teeth. Absolutely looks like shark's teeth. So yeah, this is kind of an activity that I wish I could say I came up with, but this is actually an activity out of a book by Austin Kleon. His book is called Steal Like an Artist, and he has actually written kind of a companion journal to go with it called Steal Like an Artist Journal. And this is one of the activities that's in there. It's kind of just a creative activity just to get your mind going, get your brain going. Fun to do with kids. Again, if you've done 30 circles, this is kind of like a spin-off of that activity. So who am I? We really didn't do like an official introduction, but I figured I might tell you who I am. My name is Manuel Herrera. I do a lot of things, and one of them is I'm an educator. This is my 19th year. I'm finishing up my 19th year in education. I'm also an illustrator. I have some news about that too. I'll share at the end. And I'm also a speaker. So I do travel a little bit, and I do some workshops, and I work with teachers kind of on creativity, design thinking, visual thinking. My information is below, manueldraws.com, if you want to take a look at some of the work that I have, and social media links. You don't have to follow me, but definitely go and take a look at some of the work that I do. And I like to take pictures of what teachers and kids do, so you should be able to find some of that in there as well. So we'll get started. So the talk, this kind of pep talk, is kind of really sharing with you kind of what makes me creative and what I've done, over the my lifetime, I guess, and kind of try to slowly polish to become just a natural part of who I am. And there's really kind of four pillars that I've kind of pulled away from or pulled out from my experiences as being someone who's creative, and they're around habits, around failing, around noticing, and around playing, which is probably one of my favorite ones. So we'll get started with habits. Forming habits. What do I do? How, as a creative, what are some ways to think about habits? And there's a kind of a sneak peek at one of the illustrations that I have for you guys for the Twitter chat. Is Mount Habit, and I'll explain that a little more. But habits. So the start of the new year, everybody's like, new year, new me. I know it's March, but I'm sticking with it, man. I'm still going. And somebody had mentioned a book to me called Atomic Habits, and it's been a great book. I'm kind of in the middle of it right now. It's written by James Clear. It's a lot about habit forming, good habits, bad habits, lifestyle changes. Kind of being the architect of your environment will help drive your habits. But one of the things that really spoke to me wasn't really around, how do I make better habits or what are my strategies, for creating better habits. It was more around this. This is a quote I pulled out of the book. It's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. So it kind of stuck with me. I'm like, okay, so if I want to change my habits, I really need to change these past beliefs. I'll admit, and there's a lot of people who will, for themselves, is imposter syndrome. That's a real thing. I doubt myself a lot, and sometimes that can kind of like prevent me from being the creative person I am, and that really hinders me moving forward sometimes. And so when he talked about this, that's kind of what came to my mind. It's like, oh, it's kind of like this imposter syndrome that I deal with. It's like I continue to have these bad habits or non-creative, techniques or routines because I'm not feeling like I am creative. And so in his book, he kind of explains this. We have kind of three layers that lead towards good habit forming. We have outcomes, which are kind of the goals that we set for ourselves. I want to be, I want to read a book, X amount of books per year, or I want to garden, or I'm going to build a garden in my backyard, or maybe I want to run a marathon, or maybe run a 10K. Those are our outcomes. And then we have the processes. What are the strategies? What are the techniques? What are the things that we do in order to accomplish those things? And because of those things, then we have this identity. We can then form this identity for ourselves. But we tend to operate from the outside in. So we tend to be driven by our goals. And what he kind of did, he kind of flipped it on its head and said, well, what you need to do is you need to start with that identity and own that identity. So, and he gives some examples. The goal is to not read a book, it's to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. So it's kind of like internalizing that self doubt that you might have had that might have led to those past behaviors that weren't productive or weren't leading you in the right direction or where you wanted to be. You don't want to learn an instrument, you want to be a musician. Well, for you guys, if you're here, it's not that you want to make creative lessons. It's that because you want to be a creative human or you want to be an innovator, and you have to own that. And so then, as you work towards those, or as you work on those strategies, you eventually will accomplish your goals. But you kind of have to internalize that. Easier said than done, I know, but it's a good mindset to have and to really think about. So you're like, Herrera, okay, where do I get started? We're all going to internalize and feel like we are creative people, we are creative humans. So now what? Like, what are my strategies? What are the things that I can do in order to accomplish that? So what I've done is I've picked some creative habits or creative challenges that I do for myself that kind of help me kind of stay on that path, and I change them up all the time. Sometimes I mix them up, sometimes I complete them to the finish. But I wanted to share with you some of those because I'm going to ask you to participate in some of these kind of during the slow chat. One of my favorite ones that I do that really helps me own my identity of being creative is Inktober. And Inktober, kind of in short, is there was an artist, Jake Parker, an illustrator, Jake Parker, who was looking for ways to push his creative thinking. And so what he shared was just these prompts that he would create for himself during certain months that he would create like one word prompts, and then he would be responsible for drawing an illustration that was about that prompt. And so it kind of grew into this event called October. So every October, he releases a prompt a day for 31 days, and we as followers or as artists or as creatives are challenged with drawing those prompts in some way. I've been doing it for several years now, and each year I kind of try to add different constraints to that. One of the constraints that I started with was just doing everything on a note card. So I had been doing it for a couple of years, and then one year I just said, "Hey, I'm going to put all my illustrations on a note card," and so I did that, and it was great. And it was just kind of confined to that four by six card. Then the next year I said, "Okay, I'm going to stick with that note card idea, but now I want to make it pop up." So now I had to draw these things that had to eventually pop up. And it was just a great challenge for me in October. You can plan these throughout the year, but that one I always look forward to. For your sketchnoters out there, Doodle and Chat, that is an event that happens every Saturday with Carrie Bauckham. She's an artist, an illustrator, an educator, and a sketchnoter. And every Saturday, her and her daughter will draw, for the morning. They'll have some prompts for themselves, and they'll talk and they'll chat. But it's a great way for you to kind of set your reminder. Okay, at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I'm going to go draw with Carrie, and just start doing it. You'll kind of just get into that routine and start to develop a habit because maybe you want to be that creative person. And then Emily Cox had released a book called I can't read it. Make Someone Happy. I forgot at the beginning. Make Someone Happy, and this is just a journal that has a lot of prompts in it, and you kind of go through it as you want, one a day, one every week, however you want to do that. But these prompts are just very creative prompts. Some are to draw, some are to tear pages out, write notes to people and leave those. It kind of just changes up the mundane things that you might already be doing. A couple more challenges that I participated in or use. One is called Wreck This Journal by Carrie Smith. It's another type of journal with prompts. The journal is probably, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch thick to begin with. But when you're done, you are literally tearing this journal apart and reassembling it in a variety of ways. And it comes out to be this like huge, thick, book. And it's filled with prompts again that you respond to, that you draw. You again tear pages out, add pages. You're gluing stuff in. If that's not something you naturally do or naturally think, these are great places to start to kind of get your mind going in the right direction. The next one is Feel Like an Artist Journal. I had mentioned this, one of those activities that was in that book were the triangle activity. He's got many more, but definitely take a look at these and see if these challenges speak to you or if there's something that you want to use in order to kind of continue your creative journey. And then the last one that's here is mine. I kind of stuck with this note card. I love note cards, and I stuck with this 4x6 note card idea, and I illustrate a lot. So I draw a lot of illustrations for a variety of people, and I'm always having a problem coming up with characters. And so what I did for this was that almost once a day, I would grab a note card and just make up a character, and I would draw a face of a character. And when I was done, I'd stick it to my wall in my office back home. And there's probably, if you look on Instagram, I posted it a couple different times. There's probably 200 pictures, 200 faces, and they've come in handy because when it comes to actually creating an illustration later, and I need a character, I need an idea, I kind of just peek at that wall and I take a look at it and I see what's there, and it usually kind of gets my kind of my creative juices flowing, and I take an idea and I add it to the book. I just found this. This is another kind of artist prompt by Charlie Clements. Same kind of thing with the faces, but she actually gives you some constraints. She gives you 3 constraints to stick with when you're drawing your faces. So I'll share this presentation with you afterwards. So these will all be here for you to go back and look and see, kind of pick apart what's going to work for you. So that's all about habits, all about creating your habits. Oh, I forgot about this. If art is not your thing or drawing is not your thing, it doesn't have to be. There's another 32 exercises that you can look through to see if something kind of works for you and trying to build some creative habits. So habits, that's kind of the end of habits. Owning it, telling yourself you are who you want to be, and then coming up with some strategies. So I'm going to tell you about this prompt at the end because you're going to kick off this Twitter slow chat with me. So we're going to go on to the next one, failing. We as educators love to talk about failing and, and how it's important and how it's key. And I absolutely think it is. But sometimes just getting started is always a challenge. So I don't have a lot to share about this because it just comes in time with being comfortable with failing. But what I do want to share with you is maybe changing your mindset about what it is. It doesn't always have to be described as failing. There's a motivational speaker that I listen to, Les Brown, and he talks about practice. Oftentimes we've heard the quote, practice makes perfect. And he says, no, practice makes improvement. You're never perfect. You're always trying to better your best. You're always trying to go to the next level. But if we approach it from the perspective of its practice, it kind of creates this safe space that we know we're going to fail. We don't even have to think about it. We just know it is because we're practicing, whether it's a sport, whether it's the work we do, whether it's, planting plants in your backyard. You're kind of always practicing to see what works. I like to think of it as that. I'm always trying to prepare myself for the big events, whatever that big event might be. It's kind of like this event that I had here. I mean, I practiced this many times, and whether it was the illustrations or the slides or kind of going through it or talking to someone about it, I was okay to fail because I didn't really think of it as failing. I just thought of it as practicing. So maybe changing the term failure to practice might help you be okay with kind of taking those leaps, especially when it comes to some of those creative challenges that you might do. So failing, we'll have a prompt next week on failing and how you can, or you'll have an activity where you can address failing and kind of show us what you're doing with that. So then the next kind of pillar is noticing. This is definitely a favorite because, like I said earlier, I don't see the world. I feel like I see the world different. I don't always like to see things for what they are. I always feel like I need to see them for what they could be, or what I can make it into, or what I can mash it up with. So we don't take enough time to notice the world around us. And I think sometimes if we pause and do that, it's pretty amazing what we'll find. So Austin Kleon, I mentioned him earlier. He said the quickest way to improve your creative life is to learn to pay better attention to the everyday world. That's hard. It's difficult. But there's little things that you can do to help yourself pay attention to the mundane and the everyday world, like putting googly eyes on things. That will help you. That's something that will definitely get you to slow down and look at the world around you. So a couple of weeks ago, I was working with a group of teachers, and we were kind of talking about noticing, and it was kind of an activity during during a restroom break. And I had bags. I had bags of sticky googly eyes, and so I gave them to all the teachers, and I said, "Okay, I want you to walk around and just notice, your school, and I want you to see if you can find faces where faces don't exist." And this is what they came up with. I thought these were pretty cool. So we've got pictures, we've got actual objects, we've got a soap dispenser. I believe the green thing is a chair, some pens, and even some kind of anchor charts that were in classrooms. So just pausing and slowing down to look at your world. Now, there's a book that kind of gives you some exercises on this. The Art of Noticing: 130 Ways to Spark Creativity. The author Rob Walker does a great job of kind of giving you some challenges to slow down and look at your everyday world, because it does spark creativity. You start to think about things different. You don't just look at them like, okay, this is a coffee cup, this is holding coffee. No, I may think of this as whatever it might be. So a couple of challenges that he has that I actually do just naturally, I call them my Sunday drives, is just taking a different route, that you normally take. And because when we normally take a route, every day, the same route to and from work or to and from the grocery store, we kind of get lost in the things that we're doing, right? We're going to grab our phone. We're going to check an email. We're going to maybe pick up the phone and call somebody. We're just going to kind of be on autopilot. But if you go a different route, you tend to look around a little bit more, because you're trying to find where you need to go, and you notice things. You see things that you wouldn't have ordinarily seen. And sometimes you also run across things that you didn't even know existed. So, for example, I was in Louisville just recently, and I went on a run through a park. I knew there were some things off the beaten path, and so I took them. So check my Instagram, and I'll show you. You can see what I found as I went on this run in just outside of Louisville. Another one of the activities is to notice what most people miss. So Rob Walker, the author, notices one of the things that he picks to notice is security cameras. Security cameras in the city, and he tells a whole story about just finding those and noticing them. Some security cameras are meant to be seen. Some are not meant to be seen. Some are hidden. Some are meant to blend in. It's just a pretty interesting way to think about the world around you. And somehow they sound like, why would I even do this? Well, it's because eventually you're going to be in your classroom working with your kids, and you're going to be trying to come up with an activity. You're going to be trying to come up with a lesson. You're going to try to make these connections with content and students. And those noticing moments are going to pop up in your head. And that's where that creativity starts to happen. It's because you did something. Just because you did it doesn't mean it's creative. Like, just because noticing things didn't make it creative. It's when you're able to apply it in another context that makes it creative. Draw what you see. I mean, I do this all the time. Just literally just do that. Just draw the things that you see. You might notice things you didn't see before. These are a couple of other ones that I thought were pretty cool. Collecting a rock that reminds you of your favorite food, or a stick that looks like a relative. I think that would be. I haven't done that. I think I should do that pretty soon. I did have a play. The artist Kendall Wiley. He's somebody in this video. He describes, noticing the art that he grew up with, noticing the art during the Renaissance period, and what would that art be like if we had people of color that represented those subjects. And it's amazing. I've had the opportunity to see some of Kendi Wiley's work in San Antonio, in St. Louis, and in Kansas City, and it's fascinating. It's gorgeous. I mean, these paintings are huge. They're 10, 12 feet tall, but it's interesting to see. Like, he took art that he was noticing that he was seeing, and then he applied it to the work that he was doing as an artist. And these beautiful works of art have come from that, all from just noticing. So you'll have a prompt on noticing that'll be coming to you in 3 weeks. How am I doing on time? All right, I'm good. So the last one, definitely one of my favorite ones, is playing. I mean, I love to play so much that I got in trouble for it as a kid, and I probably still get in trouble for it now as an adult. It's kind of like making my office out here at Starbucks, just grabbing a table inside the Starbucks and bringing it outside with a chair to make my own patio. But playing, how do I apply playing to my creativity? This is a pretty good quote, or a great quote, I think, by Laura and Matt Gundler. They're a couple of artists, art teachers in Dallas or Plano. Part of growing up and becoming part of society is conformity. I know it sounds sad, right? But part of finding joy in life is knowing when you can break out of the box and have fun. It's okay to play. I don't know why we have the stigma on play, especially in schools as kids get older. There are certain folks that just it's frowned upon. But no, man, if you love it, do it, and hopefully you inspire someone else. Because you know what, you're already doing it. You're here at a professional development on what is this, a Tuesday afternoon. I'm drinking coffee. Maybe you're drinking coffee. I've got a couple people who are driving. That's already kind of playing. You're playing with how you're receiving content and how you're learning. So you're kind of already doing it. But now I want you to do it a little more and a little more intention. This is what I did I did this in a couple of different workshops back in my school district. This recently was done with our new teachers, new teacher orientation. We were trying to learn about them. They're trying to learn about us. I love Lego, man. I mean, I've got tons of Lego. I've got two boys. I still have their Lego, which added to my Lego. But we did an activity at the beginning of the year called I Don't Want to Lego a Summer. And so I made these little Lego kits. They're basically Ziploc bags with random blocks of Lego. And I even decorated the front with our school logo. And I asked them, okay, what is it about summer that you miss? What did you do over the summer? What did you enjoy? What was a special moment or event? But I don't want you to tell me about it first. I want you to represent it in Lego. But I didn't just give them, all the pieces they needed. I gave them random pieces. I think they had 6 or 7 pieces. And these are some of the examples that they came up with. I wish I could tell you what each of these were. I don't remember because this was 2 years ago. This was kind of almost pre-pandemic for these pictures. I think the top one was a concert. They went to a concert over the summer because I remember. I think the big gray ones were speakers. The ones at the bottom, I don't remember. I think one had to do with a newborn. The different color blocks on the right hand side. One represented a newborn, and I don't remember what was in her hand. But these all told a story, and we tried to guess. The activity was to try to guess what your partner's story was, and then eventually you tell them. But it just gets your mind thinking about objects again in a different way. I'm in the shadows here. Okay, here we go. And then to end all this activity, we had several activities and several things that were going on during this new teacher orientation. But in the end, they had to tell us what they learned, and they had to do it using an Oreo cookie. So they weren't supposed to tell us completely verbally what they learned or what they took away, but we gave them Oreo cookies, and they could use the Oreo cookies however they wanted to represent what they learned and how they would apply it to their classroom. Some people broke apart the cookie, some people twisted it open and drew inside of the icing, and some actually used the icing as like modeling clay to kind of represent things, which was a pretty good idea. Again, it's just play. You're just learning. It's just fun, and these are good relationship building activities with our kids, with adults. I wish I could take credit for a lot of these activities, but I like to steal a lot of what I do and then kind of tweak it and make it my own. So these were actually a couple activities that I took from Dan Ryder and Amy Berval, who wrote a book called Intention: Critical Creativity in the Classroom. Highly recommend this book. Two incredibly creative individuals. Both are teachers, both are still in schools, and just doing amazing work with creativity. But this book is just packed with activities, and there's something in there for every content area, for every person, at every grade level. And then the good thing is, like, you tweak it, you change it, and you make it yours. So that's playing. So at the end of the month, that'll be your last prompt. We'll have a prompt about playing. I'll send you the illustration. You'll do something with the illustration, and then reply to the prompt. So that's a lot of stuff in like 30 minutes. And I want you to know that I'm giving you things to do, and I'm going to ask you to do things during our Twitter slow chat, but don't feel like as that activity is happening, you are becoming creative. Know that you are creative. I told you earlier, like own that you're creative, but some of the kind of that spark may not happen until afterwards, or as you're in the classroom, or as you're in your office, or as you're working with colleagues. It's a journey, man. It's a journey that takes a while, and I'm excited to be on this with you. I'm excited to be a part of it with you. I'd love for any feedback you have on what you're doing to make this better the next time we do this. I think that's the last. Oh yeah, this is it. I'm going to kind of give you a sneak peek into the first challenge. I'll release it shortly after this call. But so your first task is about habits, and so I've drawn this illustration of the first part of the map, and it's called Mount Habit. I want you to start coming up with some creative habits for yourself, and I want you to assign some kind of challenge, either daily or weekly, and I want you to just do it. And if you have trouble, go back and look at this presentation, find one of those challenges, maybe mix them up, find different ones in different areas, find one that you're passionate about. It could be gardening, it could be knitting, it could be cooking, anything that kind of gets your creative juices flowing. But when you're done, I want you to go to this map, and I want you to mark it on the flag. Just mark a check mark on the flag. You can color the flag. You can draw what you did over the flag, in the flag, and then I want you to post it on Twitter and show us what you've done. Once your map is you're kind of completed, show us what you did. Just post it on Twitter. All the hashtag that we're going to be using, which is virtually different, and then keep in learning, and then myself, and share it. I want to see how this goes, and that'll be your first part of your map. And then next week you'll get the next part, and then the third week, and then the fourth week, and then you'll have this poster. I'm so excited about this. I hope this works out. I don't know. I think that's the last slide I have. Yeah, my name is Manuel.
Oh my gosh. Manuel, this has been so fun. I took all kinds of notes. I can't wait for a few more minutes. In about 10 minutes, we're going to hop over to the Twitter Spaces, one of our first Twitter Spaces guests. And we're going to continue the conversation. Our folks who are joining us, thank you, everybody. You'll have to see some of these comments. It's such a great thing to see people engaging with the content you're sharing and the way that people are loving the googly eyes. I'm so glad I was muted because I snort laughed at a couple. Trust me, that's about to happen in our office. I think CIESC is about to get a little surprise Googling.
Fantastic.
So thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being here live. Thank you for those of you who will join us recorded, watching this, sharing this with your colleagues and friends, and going on this creative journey with us. Our hashtag is virtually different. Our Twitter handles are below. Keep in learning and Manuel Herrera 33. And then hop over in a few minutes, 4:45 Eastern time, right now today, March 1st, 2022, for our Twitter Spaces. This has been so great.
Yeah, this is fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll hear everybody so soon.